Hari Om Tat Sat. Welcome to Gyan Bhakti. We focus exclusively on spirituality, Vedanta, and Sanatana Dharma. Please subscribe our channel for the mystical meanings of the scriptures and daily satsang. Our humble prostrations to all-pervading Brahman or God, our worshipful Guruji, Swami Jyotirmayananda Ji Maharaj, all sages and scriptures, and to the divinity in each of you. We are currently exploring the scripture Mysticism of Mahabharata. Commentary is by Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda Ji and narrated by myself, Swami Nikhilananda. In today's satsang, we will be studying the episode of Krishna visits Vidura. Arriving at that capital city, Krishna refused the insincere and hypocritical offer of hospitality made by Duryodhana and went to the house of the saintly Vidura to rest. Remember, in yesterday's episode, we discussed Lord Krishna making the final attempt to see if they could change the Kauravas' minds about trying to somehow avoid the war and just secure 5 villages for the Pandavas. Imagine they had the whole kingdom. 5 villages was nothing, but it became an ego issue, an animosity issue, and therefore they didn't even want to give the land the size of a needle point. But still, Krishna wanted to make sure that he has explored all options before the inevitable war, which would result in destruction and bloodshed. So, according to the writings of the Puranas that supplement the stories of the Mahabharata, when Krishna arrived at Vidur's house, Vidura was not present. Now, Vidura, as you know, is the wise minister who was born of the maid servant and the big rishi Ved Vyasji, and he was the minister of Dhritarashtra. So he was not home. However, his wife received Krishna with joyous devotion and brought bananas for him to eat. Because she was so overcome with divine love in the presence of Krishna, she never noticed that she was feeding him the peels and throwing the bananas away. Krishna accepted the offering of love wholeheartedly and continued delighting in eating the peels until Vidura came home. Imagine that sight. So most people would criticize that act, but Lord Krishna was seeing how pure that action was, where she lost all her logic, all her common sense, all her decorum, and she was just doing every other thought was out of her mind but Krishna. All she could do was look at his blissful face. Seeing what was going on, Vidura scolded his wife, saying, "What are you doing? Does Krishna deserve to eat banana peels?" So Vidura was looking at it from a worldly viewpoint. With great embarrassment, the woman apologized. So, as if she came out of her trance and realized her foolish mistake, imagine offering peels to God. We do the best possible thing. But yet, God is looking at our intentions, our love, our bhakti, not just our opulence and how we do things. So she corrected her error quickly. Krishna then told Vidura that the peels given with such devotion were the tastiest of all foods, and no fruit could compare to that. Imagine God's compassion, love. So instead of feeling slighted or angry at what are you doing, he exalted her, put her on the pedestal of the highest devotee, and said the devotion she had is very rare because she lost all consciousness upon seeing me. Over the years, The poets of India have again and again sung about this incident that occurred when Krishna refused all the wonderful delicacies prepared by Duryodhana and ate the simple food offered in the house of Vidura. So there is this saying, दुर्योधन के मेवो त्यागो साग विदुर घर खाई सबसे ऊंची प्रेम सगाई, which means that Lord Krishna refused opulence, grandeur, palaces, and went to a simple devotee's house and ate banana peels with love, because the highest form is devotion with love. Prem Sagai. When, and much in the same way, we should love God with that feeling. This story serves as a humorous reminder that as long as one's personality is complex, his offerings are like the impure offerings of Duryodhana, and the divine self will not be attracted to them. On the other hand, if one's offerings are made with sincerity and simplicity, they will be accepted by God with great delight. As the Gita says, this shloka of chapter 9, shloka number 26, complements this beautifully. It says, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhaktyut prihatam ashnami prayatatmanaha. Meaning, whoever offers me even a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or just water with devotion to me, I accept that offering of love from my pure hearted devotee. Thus, it is the bhavana or devotional feeling with which you give that matters, not how much you give. God enjoys not the quantity of your gifts, but the quality generated by good feelings, pure feelings, divine love. God cannot be bought by external power and wealth, but he can be brought into your heart by simplicity and utter self negation. Therefore, an attainment greater than all the attainments of the world is the development of simplicity of the heart. This quality in Sanskrit is called arjavam, just like pure and simple, like a childlike approach, innocence, love, straightforwardness. If you have glittering success and power but lack simplicity of the heart, we cannot commune with Krishna in our heart. That is clear. And if Krishna cannot be brought into our heart, then life is lived in vain. We just lived a life that is so superficial. We could have lived a life full of love and bliss, but instead we got lost. So, therefore, build love and be sincere. Next episode is Krishna visits the royal assembly. After his visit with Vidura, Krishna went to the royal assembly hall as an ambassador of peace, making a final appeal to the Parvas on behalf of the Pandavas for a righteous settlement of their differences. He reiterated that if the terms of peace were ignored, the most devastating of wars would inevitably result. However, despite the wise counsel Duryodhana received from Krishna, Gandhari and all the sages and elders who had gathered in the assembly hall, he remained insensitive to the realities unfolding around him. Turning a deaf ear to all words of advice, he slapped his thigh disrespectfully and asserted, I am what I am, the way God has made me, and I will act according to my nature. Thus Duryodhana refused to find any fault with himself and vowed not to give back any land to the Pandavas without a fight. So from every angle it was unethical. First of all, the bet was when Pandavas lost that game of dice, that they would serve 12 years in the forest, 1 year incognito, and after that they would get their kingdom back. But now, after they did all that, Duryodhana did not even want to honor his own word, the commitments they had made. So, this is what evil looks like. That's how it works. The brain tries to oversmart, makes attempts to fool the wise, and that is where the destruction begins. So, repeatedly demonstrating his arrogance and pride, Duryodhana mocked those who sought to avoid war and stormed away from the assembly when the advice was not to his liking. So you cannot rationalize with dictators, with arrogant people or people who don't want to listen. Finally, in a state of blind delusion, Duryodhana, Shakuni, Karna, and Dushashana, the evil four, got together to plot the imprisonment of Krishna. When Krishna heard about this from his friend Satyaki, he laughed loudly and told all those who were present in the royal assembly, "The wicked Duryodhana thinks that I am alone, but behold, I am not alone." Then there occurred a divine transfiguration in the form of Krishna. A blazing light emanated from his body and he became a mass of effulgence. In this effulgence was the Virat form of Krishna, with thousands of heads and thousands of arms, and gods were seen leaping from the flames arising out of the effulgent body. Imagine. And then in the Bhagavad Gita, once the war starts, Arjuna was able to see that same form. Here, God showed it with love on his own upon Arjuna's request, but in this instance, he did it out of um, putting fear in the Kauravas and showing everybody his magnificence, his ability to do anything, omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, and yet the mind of the evil people does not change, even upon seeing God, because the corrosion has gone so deep inside. So, it was such a staggering vision that most of the people became blinded and shocked, falling to the ground in a swoon. Just like if an elephant comes into a small hut made of straw, the whole hut will be shattered. Much in the same way, if God suddenly arrived and we are not prepared to hold him, then we will be shattered also. Therefore, this is a gradual process. We have to remove the impurities, make ourselves strong, able, and potentially capable of accepting Him with love and devotion. And that's how we will progress on this path. However, certain people such as Dhritarashtra, Bhima, Dronacharya, Vidura, and the assembled sages were given a special vision that enabled them to behold that divine form. See, so the pure people in that same courthouse were able to enjoy bliss and serenity, whereas the evil people were being trembled, they were trembling with fear, seeing that devastation. So much in the same way, good and evil always coexist, but it is the good that we have to go after, remove the evil, and then behold the Lord's form. Eventually, even the good sattva has to go away. But that state, initially, we have to keep the sattva at all times to grow to that level. Then, suddenly, after revealing his cosmic nature before those who were capable of beholding it, Krishna withdrew his Virat form and returned to his normal form. So, imagine what a beautiful sight that must have been to behold physical experience, practical experience, no longer just reading scriptures and books, but actually seeing God's visible form. And that only comes through Krishna's grace. So he showed it and then he withheld it also. He came back to his normal form. But once you have seen that form, your life is changed forever. That is what we call the experience of sages and saints who have seen and experienced divinity. Otherwise, it all stays at a theoretical level. Therefore, we have to take this theory and then go deeper and deeper and deeper within our own hearts till we are able to solve this mystery, melt God, our own heart, where God has to come and show his form to us. But we have to be extremely sincere, extremely devoted. Then, through his grace, through your Guru's grace, through God's grace, it happens. Although those who were spiritually sensitive understood the divine power that was supporting the righteousness of the Pandavas, others like Duryodhana remained steeped in ignorance and oblivious to the fate that awaited them in their perpetuation of evil. So what happens here? What happens is that they were simply, Duryodhana and the evil people were simply full of impurities. So they could not see the divinity, they could not see the future, they could not see the auspicious side of things. And because of their inflated egos, they suffocated themselves, so to speak. Again and again, through the figure of Duryodhana, the Mahabharata portrays a personality that is dominated by Rajas and Tamas. That is what Duryodhana's specialization is: worldly activities and ignorance, inertia. When these two gunas predominate, the mind of a person becomes exceedingly insensitive to higher values, and even the divine voice ringing out loud and clear cannot be heard. Like Duryodhana, such a person cannot tell an enemy from a friend, cannot discern right from wrong, because the intellect stops functioning rationally. We have so much people who do wrong things. There is so much evil and unrighteousness inside that the discriminative power is lost. So his delight comes from hurting others and undermining their prosperity in any way possible. Such people lead a very shallow and a very painful life. Apparently, externally, they may seem comfortable, they may seem like they're wearing good clothes or living in big homes, but if there is no peace inside you, inside your mind, all that becomes a trap. Duryodhana was given every chance to live in peace with the Pandavas, who were very kind, generous, and forgiving. But his deluded nature drove him to possess everything or nothing. With this, we conclude today's satsang. Tomorrow, we will pick up the episode of Meeting with Karna. Hari Om Tat Sat.